to share one more explanation about why the heavy relationship between Shabbos and the Mishkan. What's the reason for this strong relationship? So, the Dudaei Reuven, Rabbi Reuven Katz, he discusses this question at length in his essay. And he says as follows. He says, first of all, he cites a midrash. He says, the midrash tells us, Amar Rabbeinu, the rabbis taught. This is the only passage in the entire Torah that begins with the word vayakel, to gather. It's the only one. God said to Moshe, make for yourselves kihilos gedolos, make for yourself large gatherings, and give a drasha on Shabbos. Tell everybody to gather together and give sermons on Shabbos. Everybody should come together to hear a sermon on Shabbos, so that future generations should come to gather on Shabbos to tell them what's permitted, what's prohibited. And from here, they said that Moshe instituted that you should expound upon the laws of Passover 30 days before Pesach, but on Pesach, you should expound the laws of Pesach, the laws of Sukkot on Sukkot. So the Dudaei Reuven says, I don't understand this question. The passage of Vayakel Moshe, this passage doesn't take place on Shabbos. It took place a day after Yom Kippur. And we know that Yom Kippur can't come on a Friday, or a Sunday. So this wasn't even taking place on Shabbos. So what's the significance here? What's the significance here that we're being told to gather on the Shabbos to talk about the laws of Shabbos? Why is Hashem introducing the Mishkan with this idea of gathering on the Shabbos? And so the Dudaei Reuven says, there's a fundamental idea. He says there's a fundamental idea. He says the nations think that Shabbos is some sort of harsh decree. Some people think that Shabbos is some sort of harsh decree that's being put upon us. Oh, on Shabbos, you're not allowed to get on the phone. You can't be texting. You can't be searching the internet. You can't be working for money. You're not allowed to do these things on Shabbos. And people say, you're losing a day of your work. Now in America, we have a 5-day work week. But when my grandfather came here, it wasn't like that. People had to work. People had to work on Shabbos. People had to work that day. They didn't give you off. Now, if they try to fire you for not working on Shabbos, you call Steve Lieberman, you get a lawsuit. So that's what happens. But it wasn't like that. They said the nations of the world view Shabbos as a burden. And not only that, even the socialists who said, oh, don't make him work on Shabbos, they said, yeah, fine, we agree that you shouldn't work on Shabbos. He's writing this in the 50s. But still, bake on Shabbos. It's a good day for baking, for knitting, for doing these things that you could have. Play your music on Shabbos. Do all these beautiful things on Shabbos. That's what the nations of the world would say. So the nations of the world view Shabbos as this harsh decree, this day that's put upon us. So he says, no, that's not what it is. That's not what the Shabbos is. He says, why does it say in the Talmud that a non-Jew who keeps Shabbos is liable for death? It's symbolic. The non-Jew who doesn't work on Shabbos, if Shabbos is not a part of their life, what are they doing on Shabbos? They're just sitting around and they're just wasting their life, because they're not using this day for its purpose. But what is this day? This day is about this spiritual enhancement. That's what it's about. It's about elevating ourselves spiritually. Meaning to say, when God gave us the Shabbos, it was not a punishment. It was a gift that Hashem Yisbarach gave to us so that we could come close. And that's what Hashem is giving us. Meaning to say, God tells us that this is the words that the Dudaei Reuven says. There were two Shnei Dvarim Tovim, Ushnei Matanos Tovos, Nosan HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. There were two good things, two good presents that God gave to Israel: the Shabbos and the Mishkan. Both of them were to strengthen our faith and our spirit, to lift us up spiritually, to bring God's presence into our lives, to exalt the spirit of the Jewish people, so that we would not be worn down by the rat race, so we would not be worn down by the physical obstacles and stumbling blocks that we have in life. And when Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to explain and to clarify the purpose of the Mishkan, when Moshe wanted to say, I'm going to tell you why Hashem is giving us the Mishkan and the benefit of bringing God down into our lives, what did Moshe do first? Moshe brought for them first the concept of Shabbos. Moshe brought for them Shabbos to tell us, what does Shabbos do? Shabbos brings a divine presence in our life, even more than the Mishkan, so that the future generations will know, okay, what do we do when the Mishkan is no longer here? When we no longer have the Mishkan to bring God into our lives, how are we going to do it? We're going to do it through the Shabbos. That's the concept. What's the relationship between the Mishkan and the Shabbos? Why is the Shabbos always taught with the Mishkan? Because Hashem is telling us, I'm right now teaching you about the Mishkan, that there's this place that you could go to elevate your soul, to refine your soul, to come close to God. But you're going to say to me, what's the point of it? The Mishkan and the temple, they're only there, but since the year 70, for 2,000 years, we haven't had the Mishkan. We haven't had the Beis HaMikdash. What are we going to do? Oh, we have the Shabbos. The Shabbos it accomplishes exactly the same thing, if not better, than the Mishkan. It elevates our soul, brings us closer to God. That is the point. And that's the reason why. That's the reason why Moshe preceded the Mishkan by gathering them all together and teaching them about Shabbos, to say, even when there comes a time when you don't have the Mishkan, you have the Shabbos. And that's going to get you to this goal of realizing how you could bring God into your lives. That's the Dudaei Reuven, the Gavaldika Dudaei Reuven, the point of this very special Dudaei Reuven. I'm going to just pause for a second here because I see George has a question.